What's going on, everybody? It's Josh, aka the Moza Muscle, and new IFBB Pro. Still super weird saying that. Coming at you with the Next Up podcast, and this is a solo Q&A. I got a couple questions. I've been sitting on these for a little bit, and we're gonna get into it. So just give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull them up, and we're gonna get it going. Now, before any of that, I do want to get into sponsors, all that stuff. So sponsors. Now, HD Muscle, code Moses at checkout. Natural Body, code Moses at checkout. Uh, Pull up the Pivot Gym if you're in the area. And I feel like I got another sponsor I'm supposed to be talking about. I don't remember off the top of my head. Other than Chunk Long Island, code Moses at checkout. Other than that, let's get into it. So, all right, I'm going to go with the first one because my guy, Mr. Glance. All right, importance of posing in a prep. Wow. Um, I think posing is actually understated in the importance of a prep. And realistically, there's so many facets to it. It is the one and only thing that you are actually performing on a stage that the judges get to see and like actually judge. If you can't present your physique well, then you are going to essentially just be wasting your time up there. All the work that you put in the gym, if you can't get into a proper pose, it didn't matter. So posing is genuinely super important just for show day. But prior to show day, conditioning, genuinely, when you're sitting there on stage and they're posing you through a couple rounds and you're sweating, your tan starts to run, you just continue to look worse. So when you're sitting there during your prep and you are, dead tired, your steps are high, your cardio's high, you're fatigued, but you still have some body fat to lose. This is where posing can come in because posing is not only going to be fatiguing, but it is a form of cardio. The more you pose, you could pose yourself in the condition. Something that I genuinely practiced in the back end of my prep was at the very end, uh, in the last like 5 days or so, I was posing 11 rounds a day. Might have been 12, might have been 13. Sometimes I lost count. But the whole idea behind it was, hey, listen, we got 6 days to get into shape, like to the point of standing on stage for hopefully multiple rounds and them judging us and deciding who's going to be the winner. I want to be prepared to go forever. Now, with that said, every day I will get a little bit leaner, I get a little bit harder. So I think that there's a lot of merit to it. And realistically, it burns calories. So when you're sitting there at the back end of a prep and you're exhausted, you know you have to pose anyway. Give it your best shot and just keep going. When you get to, if you're doing a classic round, right? Front relax, quarter turn, quarter turn, quarter turn, front double, side chest, rear double. By the time you get to the rear double, you're almost done. So, hey, just get, that was something I would say to myself would be like, get to the rear double, and then you only got two more poses, and you can run this again. You got this shit. And when your back is to the judges, that's when you can breathe. So you catch your breath, you hold that for 10 seconds, and then you just caught your breath for 10 seconds, go into your ab and thigh, go into your favorite classic pose, right back into your front relax. And now you have two breaks every round because you have that rear relax as well. So posing is massively important. It's going to get you in shape, but more importantly than anything, it's what you present on stage. So practicing your posing, finding a good posing coach, massively important. All right. What moves the needle the most for you as far as growth? Training, diet, AAS, GH, etc. All right, so I'm going to use the cop out answer of training. And the reason that I'm going to say training is because the most notable thing on my physique that transformed was my legs. Everyone knows it, everyone sees it. It was the thing that they said was holding me back. And it was the thing that got me to realistically win the pro card. So it it was never a lack of effort in training. I was going in and I was trying to kill myself. I was giving it everything I had. Where I laughed was I was going in with a shotgun and spraying. But realistically, I needed a sniper and I need to be precise. If you give yourself 31 opportunities like I was during a leg day training session, you'll miss on a lot of them. And when you're pushing that hard, you are sooner or later going to over fatigue yourself. Won't be able to recover from it. If you can't recover from it, you might not notice it, but all of a sudden your body starts giving you signs. You get sick, your digestion goes to shit, little things like that. And all of a sudden you're like, wait, something's off here. I'm not growing like I want to be. So your body gives you those signs. For me, I had to drop my volume down. I had to start training accurately and making sure that I was precise with the movements I was doing. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I needed to be precise with the movements I was doing. And most importantly, I needed to stay on the target muscle. So when I was doing a leg press, as I was coming down, if I wasn't feeling that, there was a problem. A lot of times I was going way too heavy and I would just lose the sensation of the weight and I'd walk off and I'd have a decent pump, but nothing crazy. Really, I'd have more knee pain. Now, let's say it's a 15 rep set. By rep 10, my quads feel like they're going to explode. And that's because I'm keeping the tension in them. I'm feeling every rep through the quad. I'm making sure that I'm giving it everything that I have. So that is massively important. Um, Other than that, I'll talk about diet. When you're trying to bring up a lagging body part, there are little things that you could do, like having high days on that day, putting a cheat meal the night before that training session. Um, utilizing insulin as a way to promote more nutrient flow to that muscle. Like it's a storage hormone and it's going to give you some performance benefits and it's going to increase the pump, which the more blood flow in that muscle, the better off you're going to be. So I do think that there are a lot to be said for the diet. When it comes to AAS, man, most most people are all doing the same stuff, man. You're taking gram, 2 grams of gear. What your composition of said gear is really comes down to like what you like, and what feels good for you. I can't turn around and say to you that like you need to take X, Y, or Z compound because it's not like I was taking anything exotic. It was test, it was MPP, it was EQ. It's now test mass MPP. GH, I do still believe in intramuscular GH. I think that's huge. So, all right. Besides volume allocations per body part, any big changes, training changes? Yeah, again, just intention in the movements, making sure that I was giving it everything that I could during the set to feel it in the target muscle. And that was not to limit weight, but that was to make sure that the weight I was using was accurate enough. If I could not feel it in the muscle, it was probably too heavy. If I was sitting there and doing 40 fucking reps or something, it was way too light. My goal was always to be in the 12 to 20 rep range when it came to leg training. Chest, it would be a little bit lower than that, like 10 to 15. Back, I genuinely didn't care. I connect so well with my back. I don't care what the weight is. I'm gonna feel it. All right. When I say that this is a question I get the most, this is the third time we're getting this question. What changed the most with your training this year versus last year? I've answered that like twice in this podcast already. All right. Favorite thing that Joe has taught you? Joe taught me not to stress the little shit. So I think everyone turns around and they say like, "Oh, my coach taught me this method or that method." Joe told me that in order to be a good bodybuilder, there are 5 things that I needed to focus on. And outside of those 5 things, didn't really matter. And that was like training, diet, sleep, recovery, and I can't remember what the last one was. But I took that shit to heart and I made it so that my life revolved around those 5 things and doing those 5 things well. And everything else just fell into place. So that is the favorite thing that Joe taught me was that you can't stress the little stuff. You have to just roll with the punches and focus on the big things that matter. Because when 95% of the stuff that matters is in your control, that 5% that you're stressing about isn't going to really do much. All right, what do you like to see your E2 and contest prep phase? It depends on what part of the phase. Earlier in the prep, I'll let it run a little higher, especially at the back end of like an off season, like early prep transitional period. For me personally, I feel pretty good around like 55 or realistically anywhere from like 40 to 60. I feel pretty decent. As we get through the prep, AIs are starting to get used, or Bastron's starting to get used a little bit more. Then, probably somewhere like 25 to 40. And in the back end, the last couple weeks, like drop that thing down. I don't want to say crush it, but like crush it. Um, you're just going to be drier. All right. Which movements would you attribute most of your back thickness to? Um, I have a genetic proclivity to train to feeling everything in my back to begin with. Like RDLs and stuff like that, I feel on my back. So I think that I grew a lot of my back thickness from over the years just hinge work, just lifting heavy shit up off the floor. After that, heavy rows. Um, yeah. So I would say hinge movements and heavy rows realistically. I can't think of much else. I think that people overthink the back way too much. The main key is if you are trying to train your lat, keeping your elbow tight to your rib cage. If you are trying to train your upper back, letting the elbow come away from the rib cage and getting as much movement at the shoulder joint as possible. If you accomplish those things, you are going to train your back well. Now, from there, utilize the weight that is going to cause an adaptation. Your back has a ton of muscles in it. Use it. Right. How old were you when you ran your first cycle and what was it? My first cycle, I was 22, very young 22, maybe 21, like late 21. I was outside of a gym in Rhode Island with 2 cc's in a syringe, and I pinned my quad with 500 milligrams of testosterone right off the rip. And it was the most miserable experience of my life because my leg like blew up and I didn't pin for like 2 or 3 weeks after that because it was just horrible. Also, I was a little bit afraid of needles. The coach at the time didn't really advise me on how to go about pinning and didn't tell me that, like, hey, I should probably do it, twice a week. But also, I don't think I would listen because, again, I was afraid of needles. So to stab myself with a needle was going to be a situation. Um, and it started with just tests, just 500 tests. It eventually graduated to 500 tests, 300 EQ, and 300 Master on by the end of that cycle, which was only like 16 weeks. So it escalated pretty quickly and not something I was a fan of. All right, my man Lucas, favorite topping for cream of rice. I feel like whey is a cop out. And generally, I feel like fruit's a cop out too. I don't know anybody who doesn't really use fruit for as a topping for their cream of rice. So I'm trying to think of something more fun. There was a period of time I used to have cereal as a topping for my cream of rice. So if I had like 100 grams of rice-based cereal in the plan, I would do 75 grams of cream of rice and I do 25 grams of rice like based cereal. That was always fire. Um, my go-to, I'll call it a concoction bowl, a la the late John Meadows, would be like a chocolate flavored cream of rice, or a peanut butter flavored cream of rice because Flavor Gang's got that PB cookie, or a chocolate peanut butter like Elevate has. A pe- uh, a banana, either a chocolate or a peanut butter flavored protein, and then topped with nut butter. That would be like top tier. But I don't really have nut butter in my plan, so nut butter is not really an option here. So I'm gonna say fruit is my go-to. And honestly, like a mix of fruit, like blueberries, strawberries, um, raspberries, things like that, along with like banana. Like if I could have a perfect like cream of rice bowl, it would probably be like 100 grams of cream of rice, 200 total grams of fruit, 50 grams of whey, and like 10 grams of nut butter because I don't really need a lot there. Like I said, I don't have nut butter in my plan, so it's not something I'm like, oh my God. It's not something like, oh my God, I need to have more of this. I don't really have a lot of it. So like a little bit would do wonders. What's the biggest disagreement you've had with Joe when it comes to training? Ooh, I think this one's not even a disagreement me and him have like outwardly had. But just knowing his philosophy on back training and my philosophy on back training, it would definitely be like being hyper specific on lat training. I don't need to be hyper specific on lat training. I think you get more out of pulling in the stretch, like in partials and stuff like that. And I know that he is more so in the realm of like being hyper accurate on the lat based training. So that would be the only thing I think. Um, Other than that, I'm a very good like student dash athlete. Like I listen. I just do what I have to listen. Where did the Moses method come from? All right, so to say that one, we got to backtrack to where did the Moses of muscle come from? So the story behind the Moses of muscle. One day at the old gym, Ultimate Gym, I was standing on a bench and a platform. I believe it was the old hack squat, but it could have potentially been the old um like V squat that we had because it had an elevated platform that was like pitched. And I was trying to figure out a way to get a super deep Bulgarian split squat. So I also had this like it was a pole, it was a PVC pipe, but I painted it red and I put like grip tape around it, like a candy cane style. So I was holding it, and I used to refer to it as like the staff. So I was holding the staff, and I had my foot on the platform, uh, and the back foot on the bench, and I was trying to figure out this Bulgarian. And this kid named Dougie, Dougie Fresh, walked in and he goes, "The fuck are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm trying to figure something out. Shut up." He goes, "You look like Moses right now. The Moses of muscle." I looked him dead in the face and I go, "I'm making that my Instagram name," and it has stuck ever since. So that's where the Moses of muscle comes from. The Moses method is so much simpler than that. My coaching has always been called DBAFC coaching. Don't be a fucking coward. And that's a little aggressive to the general public. So when it came time to like figure out what the next or what the move should be, I had a couple clients refer to like this is the method of Moses and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what? That sounds a lot better. And then it just became like the Moses method. Like, how are you going to get in shape? How are you going to grow tissue? How are you going to be the most jacked person in the gym? How are you going to build your confidence? You're going to go through the Moses method. And it's simple. It's a system that I've created that helps people to turn around and be the best version of themselves. I'm not saying I'm the greatest coach in the world. I'm saying the system works. And if you work the system, it works for you. What's the most common excuse people make that keeps them from progressing? Right. This is actually relatively simple here. Any of them. People love to make excuses and they don't see them as excuses, right? They don't see it as something limiting them. They see it as just a way of life. So to say, oh, what excuses, what's the most common excuse? All of them. Oh, I don't like to eat this food. All right, so switch it. I couldn't eat the same thing every day. I mean, you could, but there's really easy ways around that. Oh, I'm trying. That's my favorite. I'm trying. Are you really? Because if you could do it for 1 second at one time, you could probably do it the entire time. So it's all of them. The real big key takeaway with this is you get to keep the limitations that you fight for. Every limitation that you hold on to, that you hold dear, that is going to be the thing that holds you back. What bodybuilding opinion did you change your mind on over the last 5 years? I've only realistically been bodybuilding for like 5 years. So what's an opinion that I've changed my mind on? Um, Honestly, I'm going to say that effort is everything. I realized that effort isn't everything. Consistency is everything. Showing up consistently and getting the job done is going to trump effort. You need to have high effort. You need to make sure that your baseline is a high effort thing. But if you're showing up and staying disciplined on your meal plan, you're not going to take steps backwards. Quite like if you put in no effort to your food and you just say, screw it, I'm going to McDonald's. Um, but at the same caveat, if you are not putting effort into your training, you will not see the results that you're looking for. So they go hand in hand, but consistency, showing up. And if you gave, I hate to even give this like answer, but if you gave 85% effort in the gym every single time you came into the gym, you would get significantly more out of it than you going 100% one day and 50% the next. It's just, it is what it is. Like, you'll be a lot closer to the goal by doing it that way than you will if you give it 100% and a 50%. So that is what I will say is something that changed my mind the most. Um, if you had to start over today with your current knowledge, how would you train differently? So when it came to bodybuilding wise, I was training with like a DC style training. I was doing one set, rest pause, two failure, like 6 to 9 reps in the first part, 4 to 5 in the second, and then like 1 to 2 at the end. And they were normally forced negatives to where like my partner would help me get the weight up, and then I'd just try to slow it down on the way down. Not saying that that's a bad way of training. What I am saying is that in order to be able to train like that, not only do you have to be good at training the failure, you have to be very good at being under control. You have to understand that the muscle is what's moving the weight, not just not you're not just asking yourself like what's moving the weight, or you're not just asking yourself like how do I get the weight from A to B. You have to be using the musculature that you're trying to target. If you're not only going to not get a connection to it, but the weight is so heavy, you're just going to start fucking your joints up. So I would train the higher rep range. I would train with a little bit more volume, and I would train with a little more speed. I would try and be in and out of the gym pretty quickly. So that would be it. Probably do one or two more here. What was the moment you knew you were actually good enough to turn pro? Um, I'm going to use a cop out answer of when I heard my name called. Uh, the story behind that pretty much goes that like I did not know that I was going to win my pro card until they called my name. And that's because I had psyched myself out to, even though they hadn't moved me from like the quote unquote second place spot, you never know for sure that that is second place. So I was not going to turn around and commit myself to saying, "Oh my God, I'm a pro." Even though I got like a text from Joe and he was like, "Welcome to the league." Um, Everyone else was like congratulating me, saying like, "Yo, you're a pro now," like blah blah blah. I wasn't going to commit to that, so not until then. There were several times in the off season where I'd pose and I'd say, "Hey, as long as I can keep my legs, I think I got a chance here." There were several times in the like actual prep, where I'd kind of look at myself and I'd be like, "Yo, this is a good look." But there was never a time in the prep where I was convinced, like I've been in the past, of like, "Yo, I got this shit in the bag." Um, my headspace didn't allow for it this year. I just wanted to be damn hard to beat. And that wasn't me just saying that to like, act like I didn't have an ego. No, I genuinely sat there and I did not care about the results. I really just cared about giving whoever I was going against a really hard time. If you were going to beat me, you were working your ass off for that win. And I would say I accomplished that goal. I would say I did a damn good job of it, to be honest with you, because I don't think that it was close between me and the next guy, second and third. And I do think, and Cam, I hope you watch this. I think that if they ran us through a couple more rounds, I might have had your ass. So, hey, who knows? But I think I was damn hard to beat. My conditioning was top tier based off of just like what other people have said, based off of my eye, based off of Joe's eye. I was sliced, bro. So I would say that was something to really hang my hat on, and that was how I knew that like I was good enough for this. But here's the thing: I'm not good enough for the league yet. I'm not there yet. I need to grow a lot of tissue. I need to come and slice, um, and I need to prove my worth. So that is what Project Takeoff is all about. Is I need to take off this year, and realistically like grow a significant amount of muscle tissue and give it everything that I can. What's something enhanced athletes should pay way more attention to for health? I'm going to make this really simple. Blood pressure. It's known as the silent killer. It's the thing that gets affected the most pretty much by like the PEDs and the AAS. So paying attention to your blood pressure is massively important. You do not want to start to put yourself in a position where you are going to cause heart failure just because you were too lazy to put a blood pressure cuff on 3 times a week. So keeping an eye on that, making sure that you're healthy there, that's going to be massive. So I think that's actually a really good place to leave this off. Like I said, subscribe to the channel, like, comment, share. I am running a special on coaching for a couple weeks. The whole idea behind it is I really want to help more people. So if you enjoyed this, like I said, like it, comment, share it, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I will talk to you guys soon. Comment below. Peace.